Wie angekündigt, der große Stargast Rick Falkvinge, der Gründer der schwedischen Piraten neben mir und ihr kriegt's alle mit, ihr könnt zugucken. Er ruckelt nur, weil ihr so viele seid. Alles geht. Und ich fange gleich mal an. Wir werden natürlich auf Englisch mit ihm quatschen, dementsprechend schalte ich jetzt mal mich selbst auf Englisch und werde öfter mal übersetzen, was dabei so rumkam.
Eller så kan du fråga på tyska, så kan jag svara vad jag tror att du säger på svenska.
That's exactly what I said. No, we just won't do it in German or Swedish, so
right.
Yeah, I just got the simple first question. How is Sweden? How is the Pirate Party in Sweden?
Well, it's the year after an election, and any year after an election in Sweden is kind of boring politically wise, really. I mean, we had this huge success in 2009 when we were the rage everywhere. And to be honest, we had kind of a perfect storm leading up to the 2009 elections as well. We had the general wiretapping law debate in 2008 leading up to the IPRED debate where the monopoly beneficiaries could get identities from ISPs leading up to the Pirate Bay verdict. So our issues had been debated day and night in media for a whole year leading up to the European elections. After that, we were pretty much stonewalled for 18 months leading up to the general elections. So those didn't go as well. I mean, politics is a hard game. And we were kind of downcast by that until we sort of put one and one together and realized that, okay, we're playing this game, so we gotta understand that we don't always get to set the rules. And it's the year after an election. We have a new party leader who's doing a fantastic job, Anna Troberg.
Maybe you can also explain just why you got a new leader, because you were the leader before.
I was. That anyway, she's building a new foundation. Our next elections are in 2014, so it's a long stretch of activism until the next elections come. We're currently in activism mode and lobbying mode and just educating the public what is information policy about. So yeah, we have a new party leader. I founded the Swedish Pirate Party on January 1st, 2006. But you know, after 5 years, it has sort of become routine for me. And I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but it was really what it's like. That I would call Anne in the morning and said that, "Yo, Anne, I'm going to Berlin and having an interview with the BBC, but Al Jazeera just called. Can you take that interview?" And she would answer, "Yeah, sure. I'm heading into town anyway to take the Washington Post, so I can take Al Jazeera in the afternoon." And that's really what our days were like. Yeah. Really. So, but I mean, even that becomes routine. So, and when something becomes routine, I get bored.
Yeah,
I love change.
Let me just interrupt you to make a short version of this in German.
Okay.
And also ich erzähle es euch nochmal ganz kurz auf Deutsch. Ich habe ihn gefragt, wie es in Schweden so läuft, und er hat gemeint, die Wahl ist relativ frisch vorbei in Schweden, die Parlamentswahl, und deswegen ist es momentan eine ziemlich Durststrecke. Es ist mehr Aktivismus und tatsächlich Lobbyarbeit, die gemacht wird, und die nächste Wahl ist 2014. Das ist halt lange hin. Es gibt einen neuen Vorsitzenden und sie... What's her name actually?
Anna Troberg.
Anna Troberg. Actually, I never heard of her, but
okay.
Maybe I will.
I'm sure you will in 2014, if not sooner. Probably sooner.
Ja. Also es gibt eine neue Vorsitzende, Anna Troberg.
Spelling it Troberg.
Troberg. Berg.
Yep.
Ah, okay. Gorgeous. And yeah, but
right. So going back to why I quit as party leader was that I said when I started that you shouldn't do the same thing more than 5 or 10 years, because if it becomes routine, it gets boring, and whenever stuff gets boring, I don't do a good job.
Yeah.
I need to, and I love the Pirate Party movement much too much to let somebody who doesn't love his job every day be the party leader of the Swedish Pirate Party.
Okay.
So I decided to try something new, and Anna stepped up to be the party leader.
I just checked the net on the Swedish Pirate Party and found out they lost like 85% of your members. Isn't it frustrating, or does this have any special effect on the Swedish Pirate Party?
The thing is, when Pirate Bay verdict came, we had our second verticality. We kind of call it like that when our membership triples in a week. I mean, there are all of these MBA studies on how do you do when you're growing more than 10% a year.
Yeah.
Oh, you need to take it very seriously. And then we say, yeah, but we grow by 200% in a week. How do you do that? And all the MBAs go blah, 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 blah. So it's there aren't any books on that really. Okay. So, but the thing is, there are all of these people who joined not for the Pirate Party's sake, but for their own. They wanted to make a stand. And 1 year later, we see that about 60% of these people choose not to renew their membership. But what that means is also that out of these, we've got 20,000 new members in a week. Out of these 20,000, 40% remain and become either passive support members or activists and officers in the party. So yeah, there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of turnover in membership. But on the other hand, all of these people who have been members have learned what our policies are about and why. Yeah. So for a full year, they got a very healthy inoculation against the lies of the copyright and security theater lobby.
So they just made their stand by becoming members.
Yeah, and, exactly.
When they did that, they gave the sign once, but didn't become activists. The people that left now, but kind of big percentage of them became just activists for the Pirate Party.
Right.
And I myself am very interested for the fact that here in Berlin we don't really do that much of internet politics and copyright stuff. We do like social libertarian stuff, and just work a lot with transparency, and I think that's quite a difference to the Swedish Pirate Party. And do you think over here we forget like where we come from, or do you think it's quite useful to spread?
I don't think you can forget where you come from. I mean, this is a global movement, and what really fascinates me is that whenever I speak to self-identified pirates all over the world, you can go into small details and find out that, hey, we're in perfect agreement on even the small details about where the world needs to go. It's I don't know, policy by osmosis or something like that. But that doesn't mean that every Pirate Party can bring up the full plate at once. They say that politics is always local, and that's frankly quite true. In Sweden, we're taking for granted that, for instance, your sexual preference shouldn't have any kind of effect on your rights as a citizen. But if you were to bring that up in, say, some of the former Eastern European countries where the Catholic Church is still very strong, you'd lose your ability to push the other issues. So you sort of need this kind of Fingerspitzengefühl of where do you push and where do you sort of, okay, our country may not be ready for this yet. We know that this is part of who we are, but we choose to be a little bit pragmatic and change what we can.
We got a lot of questions in here, and let's just get them together for me. First of all, do you think that if the Berlin election results in a membership in a parliament, this will be pushing the Swedish Pirate Party? What do you think about liquid democracy? Why do the Swedish pirates concentrate on core things like internet and copyright? And is this a mistake? Maybe it was what I just asked, but there's a lot of questions from the chat, and so if you just remember...
what was the first one again?
The first one again was about the Berlin election results and...
Right. Okay, so focusing on that. We saw that when we had our success in the 2009 elections, pirate parties all over the world had an upswing. I mean, I saw the membership graph of the Deutsche Piratenpartei.
Yeah, which was like...
Right, you had sort of you had your verticality there. And that's what happens. We succeed together. We fight shoulder to shoulder together for civil liberties in the next generation. And this is a global movement. Although successes are local, the effects are really global. So you'll see, I mean, I did a Google News search for Piratenpartei just ahead of flying down here. And there's already news in Taiwan, from Reuters Africa, in Virginia, all over the world. Yeah. And the election hasn't even finished. I mean, what do you think is going to be tomorrow?
Sure.
Well, it's International Talk Like a Pirate Day, so yeah, it's going to be...
Tomorrow we got to announce it's International Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Right.
It is.
Right, it's 19th of September. And there's a lot of politicians worldwide who will indeed talk like a pirate, or at least try their damnedest. And the third question, liquid democracy, I'm not too familiar with that, so I can't really respond. But can you take that third question again?
The third question again. Let me check it, because
it was something really interesting.
The stream stopped with there. Hold on for a second.
Oh yeah, why we're still focused on the core issues in Sweden. Yeah, exactly. Thing is, we aren't. We are looking... I mean, sharing is caring. Yeah. We've always had the culture of trying out new things, being very permitting, that you don't need to ask permission to try out new things. Rather, you should look at the successful things that other pirates do, remix them, and try some new step of your own, so that we keep learning all the time from different places. And this doesn't just go for Sweden, it goes for everybody. So one thing we learned in the 2010 national election was that we'd go out in the streets and we would talk to people, and everybody would say, yeah, we love you, you're great, you're needed in parliament, but I can't vote for a party that doesn't have a full platform.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody said that. Everybody. And when I speak,
so over here as well.
Right. When I speak to officers all over the country, everybody had heard that time and time again. So at the end of the day, you sort of have to sit down and, okay, we had this concept of sort of using leverage and having in our platform, but people don't want it. And if people don't want it, well, politics it's a public audience sport, and you got to win the audience. So we're looking very much at what the German Piratenpartei did in your process of broadening the concept of information policy, and I think that'll happen in the next half year or so in Sweden.
We were trying to use like the hive to get a broader program, like to make the hive develop something which is somewhat the concept of liquid democracy, and therefore I think we'll never stop developing a program, and therefore we can never say, yeah, we got a finished program and everything. The live stream isn't on air, it says.
Wir wissen's, macht weiter, wir sind gleich wieder da, wir zeichnen alles auf.
Okay. There isn't such thing as a finished program. A policy is like art. You have to abandon it, and only then does it become a final version.
Okay, I got another very interesting question, I guess, because we've been asked if the Pirate Party, well, we had Amelia in the chat in the night shift, and we had the question if the Pirate Party does have any stand to European politics, to the crisis with Greece, the euro. Is there any concept yet, or is there a way to find one soon, or isn't this anything we should care about at all?
Is there a consensus? I think that the Pirate Party community will tend to look a lot like the Green Party community in the medium term. Like, we come from all the same places, we share a deep feeling of community between countries, but policies between countries vary a little depending on what the issues are in that particular country at a particular point in time. With the European Union, I see a huge problem that it isn't transparent. Policy is essentially dictated by special interests going to the Commission, who ask for mail-order legislation that are not at all in the interest of the public, and this is not transparent. It's not taking it to its extreme, the European Union is not a democratic institution because in those Parliament makes laws. The Parliament does not have the ability to make laws in the European Union. Effectively, special interests have, and that's. I don't know how we need to go about it, but I see. I think in the soul of the Pirate Party, we're screaming in agony at the lack of transparency and how the democratic deficits in the European Union. As for the Greek-Turkey issue, I can't really speak on that because I don't have the details. And even if I did have the details,
the Turkey issue, it was on the Greece debt issue.
Greece debt issue. Oh, the euro.
Yes, which is quite an issue in Germany at the moment.
Yeah.
But, I think there is no consensus within the Pirate Party by now, but the Hive will do or not.
Right. So I got two responses to that: short term and long term. The short term is that the Euro project was one of these untransparent issues as well. Untransparent projects. Like, yeah, it's great having a common currency across Europe. It's very practical. But all the experts said that this is absolutely insane. And if you're going ahead with this, you need to fix this and this and this and this and this. And all the politicians went basically blah, la, 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 la. I love my project. Anything opposing it is not allowed on this table.
Okay.
And that's not how you run a union with 500 fucking million people. I mean, it doesn't work. And we're seeing the effects of that. As for long term, I think we're heading into an economy that's going to be vastly different from what we see today. We're seeing distributed cryptocurrency that's just a nascent technology. Bitcoin is the first first small attempt at doing distributed cryptocurrencies. But I can't see this not succeeding in the long term, even if it's not Bitcoin, because the results are so compelling for the average citizen. And when you look at the results, that means that the government loses its ability to look into a citizen's income, wealth, and financials. We go back 50 years to when there was a real bank secrecy in Europe. And we haven't had that for the past decades.
Yeah.
And we're going back to the roots there. So I know a lot of public officials that is say, but this isn't possible. We have to be able to see how much money somebody makes. And well, you can't. I don't care if you have to. You can't. So we'll see a lot and lots and lots of changes in how the economy works. Also, very much of our economy depends on volunteer work today that is counted as non-production by economists. Look at GNU Linux. Look at Wikipedia. Heck, all the modern computers, if you look at Android devices or iOS devices, they're built on Unix. It was built with volunteer work.
Yeah.
And it's the foundation of our entire industry, and it's still counted as non-production. There are so much flaws in how today's economy works. So long term, I think things are going to look quite differently from what they do today.
Sure. We already had that issue of the international movement. Therefore, I'll go to the political spectrum in Germany. We by now found out just by checking on a lot of members which voluntarily did the political compass, and then we said, for some reason they're all like in the lower left corner, social liberal, and so in before we just said we don't actually know where we stand in the political spectrum, but by now we just found out where most of the people are, somewhere in this area. And do you think that other pirate parties, especially the Swedish ones, are like within the same corner, or are still not like locatable in a spectrum?
We've identified three main themes as to where we are on the traditional scales. First, we are quite evenly distributed along the traditional left to right scale. as in how much should the government redistribute wealth? That singular question. There's a lot of people coming from the left, there's quite a bit of people coming from the right, and the balance is almost perfect. I think at the last poll we had 50% identifying as neither left nor right, 24% identifying as left, and 26% as right, or something like that. I mean, it's perfect as can get. However, the left to right scale is quite boring. I mean, there are more scales than that. If you look at the authoritarian to libertarian scale, as in how much lifestyle freedom should the individuals have, we're clustered to one end.
Yes,
that's the second observation. Like we are as opposed to authoritarianism as you can be. The state should not meddle in who you want to be and what you want to think. The third observation is that we tend to draw not many people from the middle. I mean, you usually have a bell curve distribution of people, where a lot of people tend to cling to the middle and being this beautiful consensus thing. But we tend to have a lack of people in the middle, because then they tend to go to the traditional parties where the identity is more important than the issue. Like, I'm with a social democrat, I'm with the conservatives, and we're seeing these parties somewhat derogatorily as the power parties, or the ones who just want to cling onto power rather than want to fight for activism, even if it means that you can't get a fat paycheck yet. So those are the three observations. We are somewhat weak in the middle, we're well distributed left to right, and we're probably the key observation is that we're very much towards power to the individual in opposition to the state.
Yeah.
So for transparency, democracy, and pretty much the Piratenpartei's valplakat.
There was another question about the influence of the Arabian Revolution, and maybe I myself got the influence of the internet on politics, which is rising, as I think, and it had a lot of influence on the Arabian Revolution. I don't get it. I don't know, but do you think that this influence will change things in Europe, and in which way do you think it will change things?
10 years ago, China was a horrific example of how you censored internet. Today, politicians in Europe are fighting tooth and nail to get to be the first to introduce the same kind of censorship, and I think that's horrible. So, I mean, you can't stand up and claim to be a moral example if you're trying to do the exact same things. It just doesn't work that way. So, will the internet help? Okay, I'm going back to square one here. Starting with the first sentence of The Lord of the Rings. The world has changed. But when you try to boil down to exactly what it is that has changed, and that has enormous domino effects, it's the fact that you can't be a passive receiver of information anymore. Anybody who can receive information can also transmit information. And the ability to dictate what is truth and what is a lie has always been the most deciding power factor throughout history. Anybody who can decide that my perception of reality is truth and anything deviating from that is a lie, that person is going to be the equivalent of king. Obviously he or she will never have any laws made, and that's not in his or her interest, and so on and so forth. But what's happened is that everybody can say, this is how I view the world, and everybody can share, this keyword, share their experience, and that just throws the entire old world on its edge. This is as large as when the printing press or the written language arrived. So, and of course the old guard doesn't want this. That's why they're trying with all means to prevent people from speaking. by preventing anonymity, by preventing people from writing on the internet, making it a read-only medium and whatnot. It's quite similar to when the printing press arrived, and the people in power then tried to restrict reading. Yes, that actually happened, by the way. You would be sent into exile for unauthorized reading when in the dawn of the printing press. So that's the key thing that has changed. Everybody can share their view. And that also means that the internet is the greatest equalizer ever invented by mankind. A 9-year-old schoolgirl in Paraguay is worth just as much in humanity's hive mind as a rich, white, middle-aged man in the rich Europe. And I think that's absolutely amazing and fantastic. But it's not something that the old regime holds in particularly much favor. So, going back to the...
Do you actually think they don't want it, or they just don't get it?
Looking back at history, that's one advantage of doing this. One rule that's been constant throughout history is that people in power use their power to keep their power.
Yeah.
And they may not always be aware of what they're sacrificing in the process. It's just that's always been true.
Okay.
So, going back to the question, which I think I forgot actually.
And the question was the Arabic Revolution.
Right. So how does this affect things? What's new is that you don't need a journalistic license. You don't need access to media to tell people what's going on. And dictatorship always depends on monopolizing what's true. You can't monopolize what's true anymore. I saw a tweet early February from Libya saying, please help spread the message. There's a massacre going on right outside my window in the Green Square, which as it was called then. A couple of hours later, Al Jazeera tweeted from the hospital in Tripoli, hundreds of people coming in with gunshot wounds to the head. If we hadn't had the net, we wouldn't have known that.
Sure.
So, is it helped? Absolutely, because everybody can send their observations in ways they couldn't 15 years ago. I mean, this is obvious to most people, but if you look at, or this is obvious to us, but it's not obvious to the people still in charge. And at the end of the day, you got to remember that it's people with courage that make a difference. The ability to communicate is an ability, but the thing that makes a difference is people that dare stand up and say, I demand change.
Which they do by now. And they use the internet for that, as you just said. People are equal in there, and it doesn't really matter who you are.
Right.
I got some questions that came in before this, and people just wanted to know if you really work for Microsoft, and why did you change your name?
Okay, that's two questions. First, I want to point out that I didn't apply to work for Microsoft. The company I worked for was bought out by Microsoft.
So then did it the Simpsons Homer way? You're having a company doing something with the internet, we buy your company, and...
Yeah, pretty much like that. Although it was even better. It was mobile devices. This was at just at the height of the dot-com boom, and we were doing something in mobile devices and the internet, and so we were all so hot, and they bought us. So I worked for Microsoft for 3 years until they closed that particular department. But to be honest, though, Microsoft took very well care of its employees. So that was, as an employee, that was a very positive time for me. Although I did not agree with the kind of policy Microsoft is driving. That's a bit of an understatement, actually. But that's a different issue. And why did I change my name? Well, I wanted something unique. My first name used to be Dick, which people would always make fun of at parties. And once they were half drunk and tried to score some cheap points, and at the company, I would just look at them with blank stare and say, "What's the deal?" I mean, even the old Indians named their warriors after their strong characteristics. And at that point, they would just feel very dumb and not mention it more during the party. That was fun. I mean, embarrassing stupid people is kind of fun. But then came the net, and then came all sorts of filters, and in many forums I couldn't even use my real name anymore, and it stopped to be fun because I couldn't even embarrass stupid people. So I decided to change my name, and while I was at it, needing to get new ideas and go through all this hassle, I decided to change my last name as well to something that I felt more identified me. And I mean, in retrospect, it's immensely useful to have a globally unique name. Wherever these 9 letters appear, I know that it's referring to me.
So it's Richard Falkvinge by now.
Yep.
Yeah. Quite good. We got a question. People in Berlin especially tried to answer a lot for themselves. The chairman made a speech about that on the beginning of the campaign. Mm-hmm. And the question simply was, why the hell do you do all this? The Pirate Party stuff.
Yeah. Isn't that the $1 million question? I'm not a politician because I want to. I'm a politician because I feel I have to. At some point, you realize that you have a chance to make a difference. You have a chance to fight for something you believe in. You have a chance to leave a better world behind than the one you came into. And at that point, it's really up to you. Do you choose to live a straightforward, easy life, getting your paycheck at the end of every month and not thinking about these issues, or do you decide that a part of your self-worth is really defining who you are and what you fight for? And I had that option once. Just as the Swedish Pirate Party had exploded, I had the option of just letting it all fade into oblivion and going back to my job. And if I had done that, I would never have been able to see myself in the mirror again. My full life had been full of that what if question. So while it was a choice in theory, it wasn't one in practice. I took out a huge loan and I quit my job, and I built the Pirate Party in Sweden. So why do you do it?
Okay.
You fight for things you believe in.
Cool. Yeah, that's the way I would have answered it quite as well. I got another question which says, in 2007 you said in a Google talk that legislators are pushed towards net censorship and surveillance through the Strohpuppe, if you might get it, of child pornography. What's the update on those attempts by now?
Well, it keeps going there. Unfortunately, child porn is being used as a battering ram against the open society. And what really enrages me is that it's not actions that would actually help the children, but it's being driven by economic interests that see it as a wedge to expand the censorship in the next step. You start by introducing censorship to child pornography and similar issues because everybody hates child pornography and think that abuse of children is awful, and I think we all do. That's not controversial at all. But the hard thing to explain in media is that I think that censorship and abuse of children is absolutely awful. Yeah. So the update is that that's still progressing, but it's not driven primarily by organizations that care for children. It's driven by economic interests, particularly the copyright industry, who see this as a wedge to, at the next level, say that we should censor all illegal content.
Well, I think it is a big step done by the pirate parties that we just claimed that it's not about child pornography but about economic interests, and therefore, they just don't use it anymore. Especially in Germany, they try to do some collecting data by the state and try or think if they could arrange the censorship one way or another, but they will never ever use child pornography for that again.
I know.
We just really
I know your work on that has been fantastic in terms of showing A, that it doesn't work, and 2, that there are other more effective means of solving the problem than censorship. But it's an incredibly tough fight to take, because media sometimes spin this as, well, if you're my opponent in a debate and you're in favor of censorship because you're against child pornography, so I'm disagreeing with that. That means that the TV anchor is saying that, oh, so you're against censorship, so you're for child pornography then. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to say that guy is a stupid idiot who thinks that this is a solution to the problem. But it's such an emotional subject. It's a fucking minefield.
Yeah. One guy was asking, you've been totally broke. How did you get out of that? Or he heard you have been broke.
Yeah, I was. As I said, I took a huge bank loan before I quit my job. I ran out of money eventually, as we didn't get in 2006. It was a little bit optimistic to get in from nowhere in, 8 months into Parliament. We know, but on the other hand, the world would be so boring if people knew in advance that some things would be impossible, and didn't. I mean, if you knew only after you succeeded that this was impossible, then people would never try it in the first place. But what happened? Well, I sent out a mail essentially saying that, okay guys, I'm broke. I got 2 options. Either I take a day job, which means I can't spend as much time leading and building the party, or if you have 10 euros left over at the end of the month, please deposit them to my account. So I lived off of begging for money for 18 months, and that worked. I lived off of that.
Cool.
And what was funny about that was that also means that whenever artists, or even worse, the copyright industry, says that you can't live off of begging, that's demeaning and nobody would stoop so low, I can say with a straight face that it's not low, and it does work. I did that for 18 months. I know what I'm talking about.
And you did quite good with that, did you?
You don't get rich off of begging, but I could pay my bills. I could eat nourishing food, so I was happy. I could pay my bills. I could pay my rent. I could eat.
Oh yeah, you know this? You like it? Ever heard of it?
I've heard of it in the way here. I'd love to try it.
Yeah, take one.
Thanks. Do we have a glass?
Sure, you got one.
Oh, okay. I could just.
It's just water in there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There was one question.
So the question is, do I like this?
The question is, do you like it? But there's another question, which is, do you think that the Pirate Party anytime soon will be in a government, like doing the laws?
Koffeinhaltiges. I like it already.
A lot of caffeine in there.
Mm-hmm.
But
some people forget that we had one minister already, and that's out of the blue a bit. That surprisingly, the first minister we had, or I should say, member of cabinet, because his formal title was state secretary. The first member of cabinet we had was in Tunisia, Slimane Mahmoud.
Yeah.
Although he formally, for constitutional reasons, had to leave his membership in the Pirate Party for taking up a member in the cabinet. We've had that already. And are we writing laws? Well, yes, we are. We have a person, soon too, in the European Parliament. They are writing laws. That's their job.
Is there any date by now when Amelia will finally get her seat? Because it seems like waiting for 3 years by now.
Yeah, that's one example of how the European Union works. I mean, it took just 1 week to get the unelected president or chairman of or whatever of the European Union in place, who has a higher salary than Obama, like some people like to point out. But our elected representatives, like Amelia Andersdotter, well, it's been 2 years since the election and counting, and she's
summer 2009. It's 3 years by now since the election.
It's the 3rd year and counting. So that's one example of what is this EU thing anyway.
Yeah.
What do we know now? Well, there are some plans for the ascension of these ghost MEPs to full MEP status in this fall, but will those plans come true? Well, I'm too cynical to bet my money on it, to be frank.
There is a question.
Oh, a lot of try this.
Yeah, sure. Let me tell you, the claim of this brand is you'll get used to it.
You'll get used to it. Okay, there's caffeine in it. I'm already used to it.
Yeah. There is a question people asking in Berlin. We like put something.
Tastes a bit like tea with lemon and caffeine. I like it.
Cool. He does like mate. Gorgeous. He can take some with you. If you're allowed to import it to Sweden.
Well, I've only got hand luggage, so I can't bring it because of these stupid new security theater rules that lead to absolutely fucking nothing and just hassles ordinary people. Did you know that I didn't have to show ID once while traveling here?
No, but
so it's. Yeah. I mean, it's just a security theater. I could be anywhere, and
you could be anyone.
I could be anyone, and I brought hand luggage, but you know, I did have to take my belt off.
Yeah, but not to show your passport or anything alike.
No, well, traveling from Sweden to Germany, you don't have to show a passport, but I didn't have to show Schengen ID.
Luckily, you didn't go to Hamburg. They disassemble the scanners, the nude scanners by now, because they found out they were never bringing any possible working results, so they had like a failure quote of 85% or something.
Oh, they actually found out that security theater is a joke? That's news. That's news. Okay, so that can get me quite passionate about how much special interests really get to dictate about taking away our civil liberties. Do you really have to strip naked to travel in the country? Fucking insane.
I try to get this question to you, even though it's a special to Berlin and to Germany. We're having a debate in Germany about the way you found poor people, or if you give money to everybody, or you just give money to people who are in desperate need. And we got a concept which says you don't have to fulfill any requirements to get a certain amount of money from the state, which is enough to live and to participate in society.
Right, unconditional basic income.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So, the Swedish Party is discussing this issue, and my personal stance, I want to note that this is my personal stance, I think that we're heading in this direction, and I think it's inevitable outcome eventually. Because like I said, so much of keeping our society running depends on volunteer work already.
Yeah.
That it's counted as non-production. GNU Linux and Wikipedia are counted as non-production.
Even though they did like way more productivity than any...
Well, the entire mobile industry depend on it.
Yeah.
So I think we are going there, and I think that the entire concept of work is going to be radically different 50 years from now, and maybe even 20 years from now. Yeah, we need to put food on the table, but do we really need a 40-hour work? Maybe we want 5 projects. Maybe we like working at night. I certainly do. Maybe we like working with people from Brazil. Well, we can do that now. So this, combined with the distributed cryptocurrency, is going to change the way our entire economy looks. And I think that unconditional basic income will be one way to enable a lot of the creativity and frankly production that's just around the corner. However, of course it brings challenges. How are you going to fund it? What's the tax rate going to look like? What's the tax structure going to look like? I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I just know that these are questions that need to be asked, and they need to be asked now.
You can win a Bitcoin by now, because people are asking for your expected results in the Berlin election by now.
Wow.
the one who gets closest wins a Bitcoin.
You want me to guess?
Yes.
Okay. So we have 3 polls. They're saying 5.5, 6.5 and 9. drawing on our experience from the European elections, we saw that we also had a 9% prediction, but we had some lower as well. So I'm going to guess that the real result is somewhere in the middle of that. And then again, you had a lot of media on the 9% election, 9% prediction, so maybe that'll climb it up a bit. I'm going to guess 8.15.
8.15.
I'm going to guess that.
Okay, so yeah, one guy just said 104%, but
no, that's Putin. That's Putin results.
Yeah,
he actually got something like that. You know that?
No.
Well, in several districts, he actually got a result over 100%.
Okay,
that's an election victory.
Yes.
And our Minister of Foreign Affairs was quite sarcastic and congratulated him to the fantastic election results. Anyway, for all of these guesses of where we're heading, we got to keep one thing in mind. There's really just one number that's important for tonight, and that is the magic threshold of 5%.
Yes.
Anything, and really anything above that, is a political sensation.
Yes. Because we are in a parliament as a group for the first time, as a fraction.
Mm-hmm.
And people are asking why we give a clip matter and a lead matter, but you'll get lead matter later on at the party.
Oh, I'm getting something else delicious?
With even more caffeine. with the amount of caffeine that's legal to sell in a store, not in a drugstore. So
okay, there are even better stuff in drugstores?
No, you are just allowed by European Union to sell a certain amount of caffeine in drinks.
Okay.
And the other drink is at the very limit for people to sell it.
Okay, but you said that you need a drugstore to sell more caffeine. There are better stuff in drugstores?
No, not drugstores. What is it? Apotheken? Pharmacies.
Right.
In a pharmacy, not in a drugstore. But do you want to make a statement on the Assange Domscheit-Berg thingy? And you have the.
I've seen some of it. Well, I try not to speak on issues where I don't have all the details. What I do think is very, very sad, to be honest. If true that Domscheit-Berg deleted data that was leaked and was only one copy, I think that was very, very sad. I saw an interesting parallel that in a future where you can replicate any object, the worst sin imaginable is eating the last cookie.
Yes.
And same thing, deleting the last copy of irreplaceable data is already today something that you just don't do.
Yeah. Maybe this will be someday be forbidden. Would be quite an interesting concept. But as you just said, eating the last cookie of and destroying the data how to make a cookie.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, there's been all sorts of things going on there, and I think there are unfortunately, a lot of losers in the way things have been going on. Not the least the activists that risked a lot of things to get this data out.
So, what do you think of the WikiLeaks and Julian Assange and raping stuff that was in Sweden like last year?
Yep.
It's a year ago.
It is,
dude.
Two reflections. I think that it's a waste of Julian Assange time to be in house arrest. I think he should be touring the world and speaking on transparency.
Well, I think he got good reasons not to go to the.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that given the circumstances he should be traveling. I'm just saying that it's such a waste of that man's time that circumstances dictate that he's in house arrest. But I can't really comment on the case any further than that because I'm going to be one of the important witnesses for the defense.
Okay.
So if it comes to trial in Sweden,
because you've been in the same party.
I can't really comment on that.
Okay.
But since I'm going to be a witness, if I were to speculate on the merits of the case, I would burn my testimony, and I don't want to do that.
Okay. Good. One guy wanted me to ask for 3 theses or the 3 basic concepts of the Swedish Pirate Party, and you did touch them a little, but can you just break it down clearly?
We're in the process of rewriting our principles like the German Piratenpartei did, as in, okay, this is our core, and from our core we get this entire sort of Japanese fan of specific policies. But our core has historically been privacy, culture, and knowledge. The right to privacy, the right to culture, the right to knowledge. And you have some things just under the surface there as well, like transparency, democracy, and these the right to communicate, the right to observe and communicate. These concepts that come for granted. But as this catchphrase, we'd had privacy, culture, and knowledge.
Okay, so I think you just to conclude, that's the core, and there is a huge bunch of stuff you can get from that.
Right, we are in the process of rewriting our principles. I'm not sure exactly where they end up, but I'm seeing that we're starting to go back to this question you had, what's really new? Yeah, the world has changed. Everybody can communicate, everybody can observe, think, and communicate their thinking. And there are a couple of things that need to change from that. And one of my favorites is the Wikipedia policy, assume good faith. People want to do good. If you assume that people want to do good, then you'll have a better world.
Then they do.
And I think that needs to happen at the governmental level. The government needs to assume good faith in its citizens.
I think
as opposed to now that when everybody is assumed to be a criminal, and we're eavesdropping and wiretapping everybody just to sort of get them.
So that I got another question. Did you have a dream of what happened to the Pirate Party when you first started it, or did you?
Well, you can't.
Did you consider the possibility to skyrocket it this way?
You can't. I mean, you sort of understand it logically, but you can't really understand it on the emotional level. Like, of course I did the math. Of course you don't. I'm from IT. I'm a nerd. I go and look at the numbers, see that okay, there are about 2 million file shares in Sweden, and they've been demonized constantly for the past year. This was 2005. So if only actually there was 1.2 file shares, but anyway, if only 1/5 of these are pissed off enough, then yes, we'll be in parliament. It was just math.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will work. And all of a sudden, I mean, I was in media everywhere and 3 days after I'd just put up this ugly as hell webpage, my photo was in a newspaper in Pakistan. I mean, I'd taken the photo myself with a camera like this. You could see the toilet door in the background. so it was the scale of it was, once it happened, was staggering. And I mean, now we're an international movement. There are pirate parties in 40 countries. We've all come to very different parts of maturity. It wouldn't be far-fetched to say that I think the German Pirate Party is the most ahead in understanding information policy and how it applies to all society. And we've did I foresee this happening? Maybe on a logical level, but you can't take it in. You can't take the enormity of it in and I don't think I still can. But a couple of 100,000 people across the world do make a difference. No man is an island, but everybody doing a little thing do make differences. And I guess that's the thing. The thing I did was just plant the flag. And sort of saying that, okay, here's something to rally.
Here we are, whoever wants to join me, come here.
Exactly. And a lot of people formed a movement. And people in other countries realized that, hey, let's do that. And we are a grassroots movement. And it's not like somebody gets to dictate what does that, who does that, and who does that. And if I hadn't done it, somebody else would have, maybe just a week later. I mean, it's
you're not the one to dictate anything.
The time was just right for. Hey, let's do this.
I just got a statement here. The USA wish list is pretty complete in Sweden, as you wrote in your blog. Any perspective in Sweden to attach a political price tag on this and roll the measures back?
Well, we only have the wish list for 2009.
We haven't. This is the one that was leaked.
Yeah, we haven't seen what's in recent times. So I'm knowing how the US operates in terms of foreign policy and in terms of yes, please. In terms of how the WTO came about. Actually, there's a book on this called Information Feudalism. Information Feudalism, and it's kind of a dry read, but it really opens your mind as to how special interests got to dictate how we can't share knowledge and culture. And knowing that this dictated the entire foreign policy and trade policy of the United States, that has not changed since 2009. So I'd imagine that they are pushing ahead with new demands. We're seeing this with ACTA. We are seeing it with a Trans-Pacific Partnership. And there's, frankly, shit was going down and shit continues to be going down. And that's what we need to change. That's the thing, actually. First, yeah, we need to have fun doing this, or we'll just burn ourselves out. But once, like here in Berlin right now, once we start taking votes, all of those things will become politically dangerous. And that's the whole idea behind taking votes from politicians. If you threaten their jobs over following a specific pattern, like meeting these special interests in the United States or wherever, they'll stop doing that like this. Because there's nothing politicians care more about than their votes. And the flip side of that coin is they don't really care about anything else. So we tried going to the politicians for 3 years in Sweden, and they just didn't care. And all of a sudden there was a new political party, and boy did they suddenly care. They spoke
That's what happens right now, that people just start with the caring in a way which is obviously totally panical.
Isn't it? And they say like almost all the right words in almost the right order, and you're sort of like, yeah. You know, have you ever tried not knowing a thing of physics and walking into a quantum physics conference and think people will take you seriously? But you're seeing the panic.
Yes.
And like I said, September 19 happens to be International Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Yeah.
And a lot of politicians will do that.
And a lot of media will not talk like, but about.
Yeah, and you know what? One really fantastic thing about the situation now is that, I mean, we've been in this situation, like, we gotta hit media with like 10-second, easy to grasp, almost populistic statements. After the election, what happens is that you'll get these 10-page spreads, like, what is this really about? People will want to understand why, for instance, did the Swedish Pirate Party become the largest party for voters under 30? How did we take the entire youth segment? What are we saying? I mean, this was just some dry aspect of the Commerce Department. Like, come on, copyright and patent. Who cares a bit about that? Well, a lot of people do.
Yeah, That's quite funny in Berlin, and a lot of people, especially from other parties, ask us, who did found your campaign?
Yeah.
Who did design your
yeah, we get that a lot.
stuff? How did you get people to make all this? And we just say, yeah, we did it our own, and we didn't take any money for it.
Yeah, and they don't believe you.
Yeah.
And like when I tell the other parties that, yeah, we got 18,000 activists, we do.
Yeah.
They're like, you sort of see them just freezing and realizing that I was entirely honest in the elections of 2009 and 2010 that when I said that, yeah, the other parties have wheelbarrows of cash, as in they're.
Yeah.
But
so there is a difference between like the party that reigns in Berlin by now, SPD, the Social Democrats, have a budget for this election of 1.5 million euros or something. And the Pirate Party does have a budget of somewhere between 25 and 35,000 euros, and everything. We gave away like 70% of this for the road signs.
Yep, and you gotta hand it to you. They're brilliant. I mean, I saw them everywhere on the way here from the airport. They're standing out. They're genuine in a way that the others aren't, and.
Yeah, we got very competent people.
And I mean, given the choice between having these wheelbarrows of cash and election workers who work 9 to 5 and just looks at the watch and waits for their shift to end, and these thousands of passionate people who do it not for just a day job, but because they want to make a difference.
Yeah, and they won't ever watch. Check their watch.
I mean,
just like we do.
In Sweden, we had 1 hour on election day morning to get our ballots to 5,000 polling stations in Sweden. And I mean, we're talking 8 o'clock on a Sunday here. And we did that. We covered 99%. Our activists are fantastic. And that doesn't go just for Sweden. That's worldwide. People really want to make a difference.
Yeah.
And given the choice between these fantastic, passionate, professional people and these wheelbarrows of cash where I can buy election workers, I want to live, breathe, party and laugh with my passionate activists.
I've been to cinema over here, and there was the Green Party with their agency, and we are working with this agency forever, and we were doing a spot, but in the end it looked crappy because we run out of money, and Renata is standing in front of a wall which is painted a little green. We didn't have enough green color to paint it looking good, and so we just end the clip with our candidate standing in front of a green wall, because we ran out of money within production, and we didn't use any money as the Pirates.
Right, you don't get that because there are so many people who are skilled in video production who say, hey, let's do this, this will be fun, let this be my contribution.
Yeah, and there's in everything we do. It's like the websites, the road signs, the movies. It's all just, I'm having fun doing this. You know, I'm doing this right now. For the fact that I'm having fun doing it.
Yeah, and that's actually very important. You gotta have fun, or you'll burn yourself out in 2 months. And frankly, you're not going to make a difference in the world that way. If you start to feel that, okay, I'm getting a little bit overworked here, it's perfectly okay to take a break and come back when you're feeling relaxed. Because I promise everybody watching this, like our member of the European Parliament says, the world is not going to run out of evil while you're on a break.
Someone is leaking exit polls, I guess? 8% or something? Or is it just like, no, nothing much important. Yeah, officially we're on the end. It's
okay. We've run to the end of this interview.
Huh?
Or officially what? Sorry.
This was an hour.
Okay. All right. So
it didn't feel like to me.
No. Right. Okay. So I'm going to one final statement. You're fantastic. You switched cameras. Okay.
Yeah, gorgeous.
All right. Everybody who's watching this, I think you're watching it because you feel that there's something wrong with the world. You want to change it for the better. There are hundreds of thousands of others like you. And we are creating a better world. We're not doing it overnight. Politics is a slow game. But step by step, we're showing the lobbies of the security theater, the copyright monopoly, and the people who fight against transparency that if they go their way, they'll lose votes. And it's us doing that. It's our hard work. It's our hard work while we're having fun doing it. And I think that at the end of the day, we should be a little proud of that. We should take the time to pat ourselves on the shoulder and say that we did this. We had a shitload of fun doing this. It's fun to pull down the pants of corrupt politicians and people who are taking away our civil liberties. And besides being fun, it's also something we feel we have to do. I'm amazed at how professionally pirate parties all over the world are doing. The Piratenpartei here in Berlin is fantastic. We are all amazing people. And we're not alone in what we're doing. Our organization is running in circles around the traditional parties. We know that. We communicate faster, more efficiently, and on a larger scale than any generation before us. Success is not just inevitable. It's going to be a shitload of fun. So thank you for watching.